Hello everyone, this is Lori from Grammy's Keepsakes, and here we are with part 3 of our Let's Make a Little Golden Book Together. These are the items that we're going to make today. Library pocket for the front of our book. I'm going to show you how to make these little wallpaper accordion folded policy envelopes with the string tie closure. A little waterfall note holder. I don't know what to call it. That works. It's a waterfall, meaning they're at different levels. I use number 10 legal size envelopes for this, and some scrapbook paper to decorate it with, and some cardstock for the journaling cards, and some envelopes we want to have for the center of our signatures. And I'm going to show you how to make another pocket using just greeting card envelopes or whatever envelopes you have. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's make the little library pockets for the front of the book first. And what I like to use the size of, and it's a cardstock, 4.5 by 6.5. And the first thing I do is I get my scoreboard out, the bone folder, and I put the 4.5 inch at the top. I score at 1/2 inch and at 4 inches. Rotate it 90 degrees, and I score at 2 7/8, which is 1 tick mark to the left of the number 3. And that's it. That's all we need the scoreboard for. And then I flip it over to the mountain side. And what we're going to do is we're going to trim off this and this. And when we're cutting it, you want the score marks, the little mountains, cut them off because they will interfere with the fold. And you're going to cut up to that mountain, and then you're going to angle like that. And we're going to do the same thing to this side. And clip. Now for these two corners, I like to have them rounded. That's a personal choice. And I just put in my 1/2 inch corner chomper. You can make them smaller too, the 1/4 inch or whatever you have. So this is how we start. And then if you want to type on them like I did, now is when you want to do it. And you feed it into the typewriter and go ahead and type. And I've got these all typed out, ready to go. I've got the title, who's the author, who did the illustration, and the copyright date. So now let's go ahead and put it together. Flip it over. I'm going to take this score mark and fold it up, burnish it, bring that over the back, the other side, bring it over, and I burnish them down so they have nice crisp edges. And I'm going to use art glitter glue. You can use whatever glue you want, and just go ahead and put glue on that flap and fold it down. Same thing. Now we've got library pockets. And I've measured the ones in library books, and that's what I came up with the size. So again, what we do, we trim it, corner chomp the edges, fold it over, fold the little wings over. Glue them down. And I'm using them in the beginning of the book. You can put these anywhere you want. You can make them out of any type of material that you'd like also. I make quite a few wallpaper ones out of these little holders out of wallpaper also. And they can be put anywhere in the book. They're a handy, easy little pocket. So there we have that. Go ahead and clip those together. Now let's start on our next project. Let's make this little waterfall. And I'm using large envelopes. These happen to have a pull-off strip. I got them at the dollar store. You need 2 for each waterfall. And I don't rely on the gum or the glue that's on here, but I don't want this, so go ahead and pull it off. And we're going to use our glue, and very carefully close to the edge because we don't want to glue our pockets shut. And yes, I've done that numerous times. You forget and you just go ahead and oops. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and just put a fine line right here on the edge of this part of the envelope also. And then fold it over. And now it's glued down. So we want 2 envelopes, and I just kind of lay them so they're about 3/4 of an inch or an inch. Just eyeball it. Hold them together, bring over the other side, and bring it over so that it looks pleasing or however you would like it to be. And then go ahead and burnish the top. Get that crease in there nice and tight. And it's going to look like that. Now what we need to do is cut an end open so that we can use it for a pocket. It can be this side or this. Because I'm right-handed, I just automatically go for the right side. So I'm just going to trim this off, put it in my paper cutter, and with this envelope, I'm just going to go ahead and trim it off at 4 inches. And see, it's just a sliver that comes off. And we're going to go ahead and throw that away. And now we have this, and now we can decorate it with whatever you want. If you want to use book page, if you want to use coffee dyed paper, tea dyed paper, scrapbook paper. I would not use cardstock because it would add so much bulk. And with these cheap envelopes, what you're going to find is it's going to want to let loose a little bit. It's not all the way glued. So just go ahead and a little bit of glue, just attach it down. Easy little fix. So, okay, I cut this at 4 inches. So I want to cut my cardstock or my scrapbook paper to be 3 3/4. I'm going to have this margin border all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a piece. Let's use some wild pink today. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut 3 3/4. a long strip. Get it lined up in the paper cutter, following the same line. And I start at the bottom and I go up. And this one is 6 inches, so I want to cut it at 5 3/4. You can also do it this way. Just place it where you want and make a little mark where you want to cut it at, and then just go ahead and trim it there. Either way is good. It depends on if you like to measure or not. It doesn't matter. And then we have a decorative paper. So I'm going to go ahead and use my art glitter glue again and go around the edges. I like the fine tip. A little bit of glue in the center. And go ahead and try to center it in there as well as you can. Excuse me. I'm going to flip over the next page, and this one happens to be 5 1/4 for me. So whatever it is for you, so go ahead and cut your paper. I'm going to go for 1/4 inch under, so 5 inches. This is going to go right in there. And you can use many different colors. It doesn't all have to match. It's just, that's what I happen to pull out of that paper pad. And so, might as well just use it up. Use up whatever scraps you have. And I try to line it up with the one that's already in place. And then flip over the next one. And we need another piece, but I've used up my strip, so now I have to cut another 4 inch wide, 3 3/4 inch wide strip. So I've got another one to work with. Just like that. And this is, I'm going to cut it at 4 inches. Close enough. It's not brain surgery. It can be whatever you want it to be. Have fun in crafting. Lining it up again so that I can make my edges as even as I can, so that way it's appealing to the eye. And flip over the top one. And that's, I'm going to cut this one at 3 1/4. And yours might be different. We're just giving out ideas. And line it up. Okay, so we need to attach the top so that it doesn't keep coming apart. And with this one, what I did was I used a coordinating piece of scrapbook paper, folded it over, and stitched. So of our project yesterday, I've got these pieces left over. That'll work. I've got a piece of cardstock glued on the back of this one, so I'm going to just go ahead and trim that off, using up all my scraps. And now I'm just going to fold that little piece in half. Get my big fingers in there. And if you don't have a sewing machine, if you don't want to sew it, you can staple this, or what you can do is take the middle envelope out and go ahead and apply glue up here at the top. And I tip it on its side so that they're going to line up. And I nest it into that fold and pinch it. And it's going to be attached because it's glued. And then if you want to go ahead and put a little bit of glue in on this fold also. This is just a substitute if you'd like to glue instead of sew. And so now that one's attached. And now to get this attached, go ahead and another little line of glue. So that way will work, and that's very acceptable. And then if your little strip, you can glue that on also. And I think I'm going to put a little tiny bit of glue here so that it holds it in place while I sew it. But stapling works fine too. And it's fun to see the staples. It adds another bit of interest, more texture. So it's going to look like that. So let me scoot my stuff, get the sewing machine, and just go ahead and straight stitch. Get rid of that. Not much sewing today. I wanted to do a little tiny bit, but so here we have the beginning. But now, so that we can get our little cards out of here, I like to use a circle punch. This particular one is 1 1/4 inches by EK Success. And what I do with this is I start at the top one, open it up, and because this side is the littler side, so it'll fit in there, I go this way into the envelope, I flip it over so I can see. I don't know if I can angle it so you can see. So it's just a little half moon and punch. Just like that. And then I want to go to the next one. Open it up, pop it in, And you know I glued that envelope shut. There it is. Just had a little bit that was snagged. So pop this in. Oh, wrong way, girl. If it doesn't fit, there's probably a reason, right? So I'm kind of close to the bottom, but you know, I don't want to put it in the center. I want them to be stepped a little bit, and I just want it to have a half moon again. Go ahead and punch. Let's check our side. My last batch of envelopes from the Dollar Tree were much better quality than this one. So they're all a little bit different. So I'm inserting it. It's relatively close to the bottom again. Half moon. I'm not measuring or anything. I'm just plain, just putting it in. And we'll do this one again, a little bit towards the bottom. I'm about 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. Little half moon and punch. And now they're staggered, so like this, so that the little tabs will be staggered. So it just kind of adds a little bit of fun. Now we need some cards to go in here. And I'm going to use this white cardstock. I got it from Michael's. It's that 65-pound cardstock. It's not real heavy, but it's substantial enough and lightweight enough for our little project. So I want this. My envelopes are 4 inches, so I want this cut into 4-inch down the side, because I'm going to have tabs, so I don't want anything sticking out. You can make it longer, of course, and you can use anything you want to for tabs. It can be circles or a tab punch or ribbons, strips of paper. So my insert, I don't want it to bind, so I don't want it the whole measurement. I'm going to go about 5.5 inches for this first one. And I'm going to corner chomp the edges, all the corners again, because it goes into the pocket easier if you don't have that right angle. And then it slips right in. And then for this one, I'm going to cut this one at 4 3/4 might work. A little bit shy of that, so it's not binding. Probably 4 5/8 is better. And round my corners. And pop it in. Yeah, that works. That's great. Now this one, this says it's 4, so I think I want it to be 3 3/4. And round my corners. And pop it in. Now the top one, because of my decoration, I don't want it to bind there, so I'm going to measure from there, and I come up with just over 3. So I want this card to be 2 3/4. I want it smaller so it slides in well. And you can journal on these. You can put pictures on it. This cardstock that I'm using is acid-free, so you can put photos on it and journal on the back. And this is scrapbook paper, so it's acid-free, so you can journal, or you can put photos on each of these too. So now we have our little cards, and I want some tabs. And how I do that, and everybody does it a little bit different, and that's okay, and that's good. I have a whale tail tab punch from Stampin' Up. It's retired, it's an old thing, but it works. And I'm just using up our scraps from our project yesterday. And folding those in half. And I'm going to start at the bottom again. Pull out my card. Open up my tab. And I'm going to apply glue to half of it. I'm going to flip it over, and I have my card. There's my hole, so I'm going to center my tab to line up with that hole. Flip it over and glue the other part. And there it works. Fits in there nice. Okay, and for this one, I don't see another scrap. Yes, I do. No, that's orange. I don't want orange. Well, I will find a different color for that later. So I'm gonna do every other like I did here. So let's go ahead and pull this one out and do it again so you can see. Glue half. Place it on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Flip it over. So there we have 2 of them. And then I'll do the other 2 off camera and finish it up. But this is what it looks like. So there we have another one of our envelopes done, or little pockets. Can't have too much journaling space, that's for sure. So put that aside. Now let's go ahead and make envelopes for our center signatures if you'd like to have envelope. And what I've done is just grab some children's illustrated book pages and a gardening book page, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut it down. This is so pretty. It's gorgeous. And I'm going to cut an 8 by 8. It can be any size you want. It doesn't matter much. I just can't decide which I like better. I really like that dark. And I want it needs to be a square. Whatever you choose, make sure that it is a square. So here I have an 8-inch square. Grab my envelope punch board. Here, we'll move the other pictures out of the way. Get the scoring tool, and I made a template out of tracing paper so that I can see it. Like, it especially comes in handy when you're using that kind of a picture, you know, where you can have, I can see through it so I know where my envelope front is going to be, because otherwise it would cut her off, or if I brought it up so that she's in it with Dad, then baby doesn't really show. So that's how I know where to start punching, you know, when I do my measurements. So this one's an easy one, so let's put that aside. Let me go ahead and cut this so that we can use this so you can see the little template in action and how it's going to work. And I need it to be a square. So there I have it. And yeah, it's got some margin, but that's okay. And I want it to look like this. So this is where I need to cut. And here it gives you paper sizes and card sizes and your score lines to custom make your envelopes whatever you want it to be to fit your card. But for my little golden books, I just always use 3 3/8 because I like the shape of that envelope for the center signature of the books. So I go to the 3 and 3/8, you punch it and you score. And then you line up that score line with that little beak. You ignore this now. You only need it that first time. Now you're using your score lines. So punch and score. And with these book pages, some of them are pretty old, some are kind of fragile. So you want to be careful with when you're scoring. Don't use a lot of pressure, or you can rip your paper. And score. And so now we have our envelope. And this part of the scoreboard will corner, so you get a little rounded corner on there, but that'll give you like a 1/4 inch corner. I like using the 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my chomper. I just like that one better. And so now what we're going to do is the 2 little wings, we're going to fold those in. And we're going to bring up the two longer sides. So here's our envelope. We've got Daddy, Mommy, and the boy. And the little fire, and there's picture, all kinds of good stuff. So now with this comes up into my picture. Here, we'll make it like that. So what I like to do is put my ruler so that I'm here at this intersection, and then lift that up, give it a fold to the ruler, flip it over, fold it to the other side, and put glue on that tip and glue it down. Sometimes I'll cut it off, but if you can glue it to the inside, then you have a little bit more stability for the edge that's going to get all the action. So there's our pocket. And we're not going to glue it closed because we need it open for sewing. So that's how we make our little pockets. So go through that again. I like my little template. Three and 3/8 is my magic number. You can use whatever your magic number is, but that one works for me. And boy, this is hard to see. I'm going to give it a little bit of a crease to help these old eyes a little bit. There it is, I think. Yep. Boy, that's like a shot in the dark. Can't see it on the video, I bet at all. Well, it worked out because came out right. I got lucky. So we don't need the envelope board anymore. And if you're following along with me, we're going to have 3 signatures in each book. So then you would, and if you want an envelope in the center of each of your signatures, you'll need 3 envelopes. If you just want 1, that's fine. If you want 2, that's fine too. And then we're just folding up our long sides. Boy, I wish my yard looked like this. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Except then I'm thinking, what about the maintenance? I don't know about that part. I'd have more fun crafting than I do maintaining the garden, that's for sure. And then you can leave it just like this, or you can decorate it with images or words, or cut out or rip some tea-dyed paper and attach that on here so you can journal on it. Add lace, trim, but that sure is pretty. So the only thing left to do here now is to decide which one's going to be my flap, and I'm going to go with this. So I'm going to line this up and bring that little edge up again. Bring it to the inside, turn it over, I like to burnish it down so I have a crisp edge. It's going to get a lot of action, and so I want it to be sturdy. And then go ahead and glue. And so now we have some envelopes. And they're different sizes. Just depends on, and this one I just have it folded. I don't have it ready to go. You just chomp it. Fold it. Glue it down. Getting a little repetitive there, aren't I? So now this one is going to be all ready to go in our signature also. So we have our envelopes. Now, let's go ahead and make this. And with these I've just done with accordion fold, and they're all a little bit different size. It just depends on what size product you have to work with. I'm working with Wallpaper, and you can make them out of anything you like. And these are the leftovers from what I had when we were making pages. So let's go ahead and just use the spotted one. That one's pretty. So I need the scoreboard for this. Well, and my piece of wallpaper is 13 by 8.5 basically, but I haven't trimmed it down. What I'm gonna do, I'll know more of the size that I want it to be after I put some score lines in it. So what I'm gonna do first is I have a straight edge and a right angle. So I'm gonna put that up here in the zeros. And I'm gonna score at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inches. Those are going to be my accordions for this side. Here. And then this particular one is 4.5 inches. This one's 4, and that's 4.5. It can be whatever you've got to work with. If you've got a 12 by 12 paper, you probably want to go with 4 inches. I'm going to go ahead and do my 4.5. I would score at 6. Six and a half, 7, and 7.5. And then I need my 4.5 from there is 12 inches. So that's where I'm going to trim it off at, is 12 inches. And now I'm going to flip it over so that the narrow is up at the top, and we're going to score for this little lip here. And it can be 1.5 to 1 3/4. This one is 1.5, this little short one. This one's a little bit wider, It's whatever look you're going for. And then it'll just take away from the whole depth of your envelope. But whatever, personal preference, I'm going to go for the 1 3/4. Live dangerously, right? And let's see. I'm going to just go ahead and trim this ragged edge off. I'm cutting my piece. It's going to be 12 inches by 8 1/4 inches. That's the rectangle I'm going for. So it can be whatever you'd like. And I'm going to turn it around this side, and I'm going to score at 3/4 of an inch. And this is going to be that bottom that's going to flip over. We don't need the scoreboard anymore. And now we're going to do some cutting. We're going to trim off, score line off these 3 sections up to that large one. So have it gone. Same thing here. And I'm going to trim off all the way, because this is going to be my flap. So cutting the score mark off. Same thing on the bottom. We're going to get rid of this and all of this. So this is the shape we have now. I'm going to fold this edge over, open it up, and I'm going to fold the little tab over. So it looks like that. Now I'm going to take and put this edge with that edge, fold it this way so that it lines up. Same thing on this side. We're going to fold that over and this one. So we've got a little box shape. Oh, I did score an extra one on that. I was wondering, 1, 2, 3. Oh, no, it's right. Oh, no, it's not. I have an extra score mark in here. Okay, well, we can fix that. We are going to fold it here at this side. And now we have a smaller box. And then we're going to bring this folded edge and that folded edge together. So now this is going to be too long, but that's okay. We'll trim it off. Lining up my edges. Bring up my bottom, bring down my top, and that's what it's going to look like. Now there's an awful lot of spots for you to see, but I'm going to put a little mark here, so now I know where to trim that off. Okay, now we need to do a little bit of angling here on our bottom flap. Just cut a little angle on both sides. Did I cut that straight? No. There we go. That'll work. Not perfect, but that's okay. So that's going to go like that. And now we need the angle here on this top also. And this is our top flap. Just cut little wedges out, and it's going to go like that. Cute. So we need some buttons for our closure. So let's use this blue. And again, I'm going to use my 3/4 inch circle punch. Use what you have. I just need 2 little circles of the color. And that's all I need for the complement. And it doesn't have to, I'm using wallpaper. You don't need to. You can use whatever, you know, cardstock or anything. You can make this whole thing out of cardstock. And then I want some circles out of plain cardstock also, so that I can build it up. So I want 4 of those. And we did this yesterday. Same concept. Glue on 2 of them. Build it up with our plain white ones. Line them up and squeeze so it disperses that glue. And then apply glue. And put the decorative circle on the top. These would be cute out of book pages too. They would be just darling. Okay, don't need the glue. So now I need to find the center. Get my little template out. And make a dot. And we need our crocodile in the little tiny 1/8 inch, and just punch a hole. And the reason I use the Sharpie is so that I can see my mark through the hole. And we don't have it put together at all yet because we want access to getting that button put in place. So we want to eyeball where we want the button to be. I think that looks good. And make a dot. And then we want to bring this button in. Where do we want it to be? And make a dot. So now we can see where we need to punch our holes. And my crocodile won't work for this, so I have to use the big bite. Punch that hole. Go ahead and punch the flap. Now we need to attach these. Yesterday we used brads. Let's use eyelets today. Let's find some little tiny get my tweezers, so my big fingers. Now I'm looking at the colors. I've got gold and bronze and silver, and then I've got dark tones. Let's live dangerous and go with that bronze. Brings out that little bit of orange. That'll work. That'll be nice. So we'll get 2 of those. You can use whatever you've got. Don't go out and buy anything for this, that's for sure. And we're going to go ahead and pop the eyelet in the button and layer it there. And yep, making sure put this in the right spot for the eyelet setting. I'm looking to make sure that I have the right post and opposite so that I can set the eyelet. Scoot that one up. Avalanche. Okay, so I like to depress it a little bit so I know where that post is so that I can get it on there. I wiggle. Oh, see, it moved. That's why I test it. Yep, it's on there. So go ahead and squeeze. And there we have our eyelet. And just so that I'm sure that nothing will get caught on it, I just like to smack it a little bit. And there we have that. Let's do it one more time. Fit it onto the post. It moved. And squeeze. Okay, that one turned out much nicer. I still like to tap it a little bit. Okay, so we don't need that crocodile anymore. Our desk space is at a premium, so we're going to go ahead and put the tool away. Now I'm going to use some score tape. Because this is wallpaper, I want to make sure that it's going to stay attached because it's got a vinyl coating. And so what I'm going to do is put the score tape to this edge. Here, maybe that makes it easier to see. Just up to the edge, not over it, just next to it. And then I'm also going to put the score tape on the inside edge of the back flap. Fold out of the little creases. Okay, I'm going to give this a little bit of a trim. Easier to trim it up now than after it's all put together. Probably a little bit on the bottom too, because we were cutting those score marks off. It's hard to see. That's going to work out. So I use my pokey tool to get the paper backing off of the score tape. Makes me very nervous when people use their X-Acto knives for that. Okay. Trying to get it so that you can see and so that I can see, so that I know where it's going to be. Because I want it to be on the edge. And stick it down. So it's going to be our little pocket. But we need to cover that. So let's go ahead with the score tape again on the edge of our flap. And the bottom edge of this. Remove the paper backing, hold it down, and bring that bottom up. I believe Fabri-Tac works really well on wallpaper also. I'm using the score tape. So that's going to be our little pocket. Oh, let's give it a little bit of a thumb notch to make the things easier to get out of. Eyeballing the center. Let's make it even a little bit bigger. That's a nice size. Now we need a string closure to go on our buttons. And you can use a cord of whatever you've got. This is from some shipping tags that I didn't want the cord to, so I took the cord off and saved it so it can be reused. And go ahead and just put it over the buttons and pull it tight. Tie it one more time. I don't want the string to come off. And trim off that extra. And on this end you can tie a charm, a bead, a button, or a knot. And we have our little policy envelope. Isn't that cute? Love them. Fun and easy to use. And we'll put those in our books too. So now let's make our pockets using greeting card envelopes. These are huge. I've got like the mother supply of envelopes. And we can just use whatever we like. And whatever kind you want. This particular kind has a flat bottom. Some of them that have a pointed bottom. That'll work too. Just fold it in and you've got a flat bottom. So that works too. But I'm going to go ahead and use this one. And it's quite large. My book is not this big. So we're going to cut this in half. Let's fold it up. That's much better. It's going to be a pocket, and we're going to cut off the top. Let's go ahead and, this is huge. Let's cut it down to, let's go with the 4 inches. Oh, 4.5. So this is how much I cut off. And of course we can use this for something else too, because it can be a pocket on the end of our envelope, a page, a new pocket. It could be all kinds of things. So we'll save that. So what I need to do here now is we're going to cut it here, and then we're going to sew them shut. So let me, here, let's just, you can use your paper trimmer or just grab the scissor and cut on the fold. And I'm just doing it so that they look more proportioned for our book pages. That works. And then what you can do is glue this shut, or what I'm going to do is sew it. So I'm just coming in on the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and stick the next one in so I can chain stitch them. And then now we're going to stitch the other side. So now we have 2 pockets. Don't need this anymore. And these are not original ideas. They're just my adaptation of making things out of things that I have. Making it work, making it fun, and clipping them apart. And let's use our circle punch again, because we're going to use this for a little pocket too. So pop that in, center roughly, half moon, and punch. So that works, and then we can just decorate them however we want to. Can use dictionary page, music, that'll work. Let's just go ahead and rip some of that. Move it aside so I can see. Well, that little edge looks interesting too, so let's keep it. And you can ink it up if you'd like to. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down. And then we have a pocket there. And a pocket there. And depending on how we attach it in our book, maybe we can even have a third pocket behind. Or we can put a little notebook or booklet or something in there. It's just some ideas. But this little collage, you know, we need more stuff for it. Well, that doesn't work. You know, we can use whatever scraps that you have, or even just, you know, a label, a picture in a children's book. We've got these wonderful images here. And this is the Mrs. Cog's Children's Adventures that I printed on rice paper. Ooh, that didn't work. Need more pressure down there. So that's just something to start playing with. I don't know if I'm going to use them at all, or that'd be kind of, oh, cute. Okay, let's make this a little bit smaller. And see how that rice paper, you can see the words underneath? And then that, out of the margins of the rice paper, I went and stamped journal on it. So we can just start to embellish and decorate. But so today, what we did was we made our little envelopes, our waterfall envelope journal cards. We made our little policy envelopes. We made our signature envelopes. And, well, we have our library card pockets also. So I'm going to sign off for now, and then tomorrow what we're going to do is go ahead and start putting our pages together and do some stamping if we'd like to, and put in all of our goodies that we made from the other day and today's. Like here's, I just did some more stamping on these and some more decorating. So we've got all our goodies that are ready to be putting into our books. So thank you so much for watching and for taking the trip with me. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.